YouTubers! Mike Martins here with the Mike Martins channel. This is a message to Pierre Poilievre, member of the Conservative Party, member of Parliament of the Conservative Party for Canada. Now, I kind of want to throw something out there because he is posting now this major housing dilemma, this $9.8 million tear down home in Vancouver that's going for $9.8 million. It's assessed, I think, at $2.1 million, and the building's worth $27,000. The building, I think, is worth $27,000 or $29,000. And property taxes and whatnot, I'm not going to get into the specifics. But now housing is becoming addressed, or they're addressing housing in 2021. My question to Pierre is, why are they addressing this now, this housing issue? It makes absolutely zero sense to address it now. And what am I talking about? Well, if you search across our channel from whatever videos that haven't been taken down by YouTube, you could see that we've been talking about this major housing issue since 2010 on this channel. I think the earliest videos now you see are from 2012 now. I've lost a couple of hundred videos every other year, but let's get to the meat and potatoes here. My question is, why? Who cares? In 2010, I even remember this because I worked in the financial sector in 2010. Everybody was selling their homes in 2010 in Vancouver. 85% of the people, property investors, were. Why? Well, because housing was already 8 to 11 times the annual income. So this was way above price for the average, not the average wage, but the upper average wage blue-collar family to get into housing. So people in finance, or people that worked in finance and underwriters and stuff, understood, look, 8-9 times the annual income, your annual income is not going to fly much longer. So this is in 2010. So we're all betting, we had a pool going, that the housing market was going to crash in the 2010 Olympics. After the 2010 Olympics, Vancouver was going to open up to the world, and it was just going to right after the Olympics. Well, after 2010, there was no correction in 2010. I'm scratching my head, and I owned my little department store in downtown Vancouver, so we're thinking, okay, I want to buy a house, I want to start a family, raise some kids, and start, living the Canadian dream, so to say. So everywhere we'd go see, tear down homes with foundation cracks, just junk was $700,000 to $940,000, and then you're like, wow, $700,000 for this thing? And me, living in Florida before, understood what you could buy with $700,000. You could buy a mansion in Florida in 2010. A mansion, 11 bedrooms with a pool, thousands of them for that price. So you're thinking, wow, this is no bang for the buck. So I started making more videos consistently. I even made a very popular video, was Get Out of Vancouver. And I took that to the bank, and I left Vancouver and I moved to a small town. Now, 2010 hits, and housing is already out of reach for the average wage earners. Are like, holy crap, we're in trouble here. So we're going to start renting. And people are like, oh, just buy a condo. Mike, everybody's buying a condo. And I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to leave this city, I'm leaving this city, and I'm going to go hours away. Because I know what's going to be happening. If there's no correction in housing, and there's no more middle class or Canadian citizens, proper Canadians buying into the markets anymore, guess what? You don't have an economy. Now, this is a major issue. Now, this went on. Then 2012, they said, oh, we're going to put more restraints in. But the money kept flowing in. And what are we talking about? Canada competing for wealthy investors, mainly from mainland China. And it's not just Canada. Canada is just not on the hook for this. It's also Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. And all of the blue states in America, like California, Oregon, Washington State, New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. They were all in it with colleges and laundering money, and they took a blind eye to basically prop the economy and impoverish the middle class, basically, or impoverish or get rid of the middle class. Okay, so what happened then? So 2012 hits, we're not seeing a correction. Housing is still in bidding wars. 2014 hits. Housing is completely out of reach, and then you're starting to see articles where whites and aboriginals are leaving the city of Vancouver, leaving the city of Burnaby, leaving the city of Surrey, because they just can't get into their own markets, born and raised. 2016 hits, tail end. The government say, okay, we're going to put in a foreign buyer's tax. Doesn't that end up becoming a disaster? The foreign buyer's tax in Vancouver forced investors to Toronto and Seattle. And that destroyed both of those markets, completely riddled it with laundered money. There's articles up there by Better Dwelling. Canada would be in a recession today if it wasn't for money laundering. Canada needs criminals and money laundering to get. Now, if you want to tie it to the fentanyl, yeah, you can. Yes, you can. You could put fentanyl as a statistics in Canada, not by death, but towards bridging our economy. Canada's losing its youth on the streets to fentanyl and opioids that are fabricated and created in factories in China. So there it is right there. And that's what's been happening. And Better Dwelling wrote an article the other day about that. So this is the issue that we're dealing with here in Canada. Now, okay, let's fast forward a bit. 2016 tail end of 2016, they put the foreign buyer's tax. Articles up to read. Chinese investors are skipping Vancouver and going straight to Toronto and Seattle. That's what the article reads. You can look it up. It's transformed Canada. From 2016, Canada saw such a massive transformation that I don't even know what it means to be Canadian anymore. We sold some of our biggest coal mines, BC's biggest coal mines, owned by China, no Canadian hires for 4 years. We don't have, what is Canada? How do we create the presence? What is the Canadian culture anymore? Okay. So 2019 rolls around, it's the year of protests. 2019 is the year of protests. 2019, everybody's protesting. Everybody. Lebanon, Hong Kong, 50 weeks of protest. And by 2019, at tail end of 2019, Hong Kong was in 50 weeks of protest. The Gilets Jaunes in France was 70, 80 weeks in protest. You have all kinds of protests. You had South America. Every country in South America was in protest in 2019, except Honduras. Chile was in mass protest. Huge in Chile. Huge in Argentina. Huge in Brazil. Yeah, huge in all these countries are falling apart. And you had all these protests everywhere. Israel, everywhere was in protest. And the COVID comes along to save the day. Politicians were grateful about this because this was the greatest thing. And now Facebook allows us to say it was man-made. Thank you, Facebook, for allowing us to say now that the virus is man-made. Thank you. Now, instead of going to war, we are doing nothing. Now, let's fast forward to 2020, the year of the blood clot or the whatever you want to call it. That hits. Housing correction is coming, blah, blah, blah. Correction in the mists. I even thought there was going to be a correction. I've been wrong 100 million times about this housing market because the math doesn't add up. So let's go back to 2019 one quick second. 2019, we're reading articles that the average person to get into, the average person, not minimum wage, average wage earner needs to save for 24 years to get into real estate. So now Canada no longer has an economy because there's no more of the actual Canadians getting into their own markets. So people are in 2019 and moving away to Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, all kinds of places because they can't. So I was ahead of the game. I bought my house for $260. It was valued at $590 or $700,000. I don't care. My house went up. I want to raise my family and have kids and lay roots. I couldn't care less if my house goes to $1. So now let's see. So 2020 hits. I honestly thought we're going to see a correction. It's about time that Canadians see what needs to be done. And guess what? We didn't see one. If anything, housing went up 20-30% across the board. Now, to Pierre Poilievre, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name there. Why are we addressing the housing issue now in 2021 when it's the money laundering, either through casinos, either through colleges, either through housing, either through whatever. The amount of money laundering that came in, hundreds of billions of dollars, has impoverished Canadians. And it's created this, now with Canada printing money on top, it's created this mass inflation that Canadians are going to have a really tough time. And I already just drove by, I saw the lineup at the food bank this morning. And it's getting bigger in a small town. Now I'm asking you, Pierre, why are you addressing this today? Or I know it's been talked about. Why hasn't it been brought up during the last election debate? We had the last election debate, right? The last debate back in, 3 years ago? They never talked about the fentanyl crisis taking the youth away. They never talked about the homeless crisis across Canada. They never talked about, and it all goes back to housing. If you look back at the first ingredient in the formula is housing, is the problem. It all dates back, it all goes back to creating hopelessness, to creating divide, to creating hate, and to creating everything. It goes all back to housing from day one. I have several thousand housing videos covering Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, years before all these channels came up, all these heroes coming up and discussing this. This has been a major issue for Canadians, and Canadians are at a wit's end right now, and I don't know what to do. I've been trying to warn people, and all I got was made fun of and stuff. And the people that did buy in, let's say in 2017, 2018, and their homes went up, let's say, they're living off the equity on their homes. So people are living off the equity off their homes. So either way, they're going to have to pay the money back regardless. People using their homes as ATM machines. We were talking about that in 2014. And they can't raise interest rates, because if they raise interest rates, the Canadian proper is going to falter. But don't you worry, with a $9.8 million home on the sidelines right now for sale, that's worth $27,000. Guess what? There's going to be a lot of people on the sidelines, a lot of foreign investors waiting for us to falter on our homes, because they're going to walk right in and basically take us over. This is, folks, what you call an economic takeover, and we've been in an economic war basically in Canada since 2010, the 2010 Olympics. And that is basically the first step in the mortar or the brick on the wall. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you do live in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, tell us in the comments how bad it's been in your country, how your country has been competing for foreign Chinese investors, and how that has crippled your middle class and has basically skyrocketed homelessness. Look at LA County, 60,000 homeless people in LA County. For every homeless person, there is 3.8 to 4 empty units in LA County, empty, owned by foreign investors. Look at Seattle. Look what's happened to Seattle. Look at it before Vancouver put in the foreign buyers tax, and look at it after the foreign buyers tax was put in Vancouver, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Pierre, please let me know why. Why is this happening? Why all of a sudden is housing becoming an issue? Is it because America? Is it because now in Alabama, I've read the article, people are freaking out that the average home, the benchmark home price in Alabama used to be $103,000. Now it's like $190,000. Or is it because of Florida, where people are freaking out in Florida that the average benchmark home, 3-bedroom, was like $185, $170? Now it's like $290, $300, and people are freaking. Is it because of that? Is it because now America is weighing in? Or is it to buy votes? Is it to I guess, get the Canadian proper on board? What is it? How does it work? Explain this to me, because I need to understand why this is being addressed today. Comment below, share the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see all my content. Thanks for watching.